Alright, so from when we last left off, I did basically the background illustration. I just changed the color of these because it was looking like, it looked like it was like SpongeBob SquarePants, like it was under the sea, because it was all just way too blue. So I just went ahead and swapped out that color just because I didn't like the way it looked. Although I don't like the way it looks anyway, but hey, what are you going to do, right? So just to show you what I did is I finished this one. I made this scene 1, there's scene 2, and there's scene 3. So inside of this one, besides the background, I also added the cone drawings. So for each guy, I'm not telling you have to do this, I'm just showing you what it's set up as. I just want you to do the background art. So basically I just did the main poses I'm going to need for that, and then I also drew out the car. And that's what's in here, and then you'll see the other scenes as well. But notice that they are all labeled, and this one's actually even in a folder, and you're going to see that when you bring these in, they will maintain that, okay? So inside of Animate now, what I want you to do is we're going to actually bring in our stuff. Don't mind this is the stuff that we're doing. So we're going to go File, New. And we are going to do character animation. And I want to do, we're going to do HD 1280 by 720 just because I want it a little bit smaller. So we're fine with that. Make sure the platform type is not ActionScript. Make sure it's HTML. So the previous one, what we did is we did it in ActionScript. So ActionScript is the native format of Animate. All right, that was basically Flash. Flash is ActionScript. They're not one and the same because you don't have to have Flash to write ActionScript, but they're kind of the same. So they're basically the same thing. Or at least it's the native language. It's how the whole thing was built. Later on, when they renamed it from Flash to Animate, they added the ability to do HTML5 Canvas, okay? So ActionScript is much more robust. You'll see the language, you can like do some major coding and things like that. And because it's built into this, when you are in that mode, you can actually do more things. So for instance, in the previous one, we did parenting, like I parented an arm to another arm and all that. You can't do that in Canvas. In the HTML thing, okay? So you might be like, well, then why are we using it? When we did the previous one, our final output, what we were looking to build was just a video. So it really didn't matter what this was because it wasn't going to affect that either way. Like both of them can just export out videos. So I just wanted the more robust of the two. This one, though, what we're going to do is we're actually going to export out an HTML doc, okay? And what that means is basically a web page. So this will actually be interactive. Anyone will be able to open it up, and they will be able to interact with it and click on it and all that other stuff, okay? So this is kind of building on the last one. We'll incorporate some animation. Some of the tools we were using before will not be available. Most of them will. It's a couple things here and there. So we'll be doing that inside of here, but you just want to make sure it's HTML5 Canvas because that's what we're going to be. That's our final output is to be web. Basically, HTML is the structure that that's the base document, and then Canvas is a way of drawing up graphics and stuff through code. You'll see when we do it. But anyway, so we'll leave it at 15 frames per second. That's fine. And yeah, so 1280 by 720. Just make sure this is Canvas and hit create. And voila. Okay, so the first thing I want to do is this. I want to bring in the stuff that I made. Okay, so what you're going to do is just do File, Import, and I like to import right to the library. So I mean it's going to go right to our little thing over here. I'll select scene 1 and hit open. Now what is nice, because this is all part of the Adobe infrastructure, right? It's all part of their Creative Cloud suite. Everything basically works with everything else, which is super awesome. So you can just bring things natively where, like, if I try to bring this PSD into a different program, it won't work because it just doesn't read PSDs. This will understand them. So anyhow, you can see it has all of our layers in here, has all the names in there. The ones that were turned off, they'll be turned off by default in here, which is nice, so you can kind of check in there. And so basically, I'm just going to bring all of this in just as it is, but you can click on each one individually and then change settings here. But the default settings are totally adequate. No major errors. Just make sure it says animate layers. That's the only thing that really matters. Although we're actually not bringing it onto the stage anyway, but just make sure that's turned on. What's cool about this too is that, let's say I've had students that will do stuff in Illustrator. If you're really into like Adobe Illustrator, when you go to do your own, go ahead and use that. Go to town with it. You can use Illustrator, or if you have another program, I don't care. But you can make a whole puppet and put every layer in there in Illustrator, and then when you bring it in here, it will bring it in as all the names and all the layers, and then you can just plop them in, and it's a lot easier. So anyway, those by default are good, so I'll just hit import, and I'm just going to click library so you can see this is what it gave me. So I'm just going to do the next thing. I'm going to import again, file, import to library, and I'm just going to grab the second one, and I'll just hit import, and file, import. I had a weird thing happen when I was doing it, when I tried to select you can select multiples, but it was giving me strange, I don't know, it just looked weird. I don't know how to describe it, but it just wasn't what I was expecting. Okay, so over here you're going to see basically the PSD itself. So if you just literally wanted that picture, boom, there it is, all the layers slapped on top of each other. Okay, so and if you double click on it, you can actually see all the stuff inside of it, which is also kind of neat, right? That's not what I need though. I don't really like that because it's just, I'd rather do it manually and have everything kind of set the way I want. So they give you that, and then the other thing they give you on each one of them is a folder that has all the layers and folders and layers that you have inside of that, and that's just called whatever the scene name and then asset is, okay? Whatever the artwork name is and then asset. So basically it gives you a folder as well, which is pretty cool. So that's great. So what we're going to do is we're going to set up panel by panel by panel just to get it all kind of set up, and then we'll go in and I'm just going to have you work on one. So we'll just do a kind of general setup here. Oops, I'm still in this. Okay. So make sure you're out here in scene one. All right, so I'm going to open up my scene one. First thing I'm going to throw in here is just a background. That looks acceptable, but you remember I did this at 1080p, and this is 720p. So it's basically got to cut down quite a bit. Easiest way of doing it, I could hit Q and then hold shift and try to like move it and scale it, but that's a little bit fussy. So what I'm going to do is have it selected, go to properties, and then I'm just going to type in, make sure this is locked so it changes them proportionally. I'm going to type in 1280 because that's what I need it to be. And then it's offset 16 by 32, so that's left and down. So I'm just going to type in 0 and 0, and boom, it's right in the center now. See? Pretty easy. Okay. So that's the first thing. Then we'll do these cone guys next. I'm just going to drop these guys in here, and I'm just going to hold shift. So unlike Photoshop, where shift now makes it improportionately scaled, they still have this set up that shift keeps it proportionate. So it's the opposite. I would have wished they would have updated them all. I don't know if you've been in Photoshop lately, but you know how I used to hold shift and that kept it constrained proportionately? Now it's constrained proportionally unless you hold shift. So it's confusing. Anyway, I'm just going to scale these guys down a little bit. We'll say about that size. That was good. And then the last thing I need to do is grab this car and I'll plop this car in here, and he's definitely got to go a whole lot smaller. We'll say like that, and then okay. So one of the things I want to do in here, just to show you, and I decided to do it with this car, is this. So when you bring the drawings in here, you can't do anything with them. Once you bring them in, it treats them like a bitmap, just like a raster image. And you probably have noticed in here, there are no raster image editing tools. We can't do anything with them, right? We can apply like filters and effects and stuff, but we can't actually change anything about if we bring in a picture, we can't change it in here. You have to change the source picture and then re-import it, or you can swap it out. If you select it here, you can see, where are you? Right here. You can swap and then swap it out or browse. Okay, so anyway, this is kind of a weird in-between, right? So the characters I'm going to do kind of cartoony, hand-drawn, but this guy I want to do, I don't really want him like the background, because it does move, but I don't really want him like this either. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually just going to, and this will give us a little bit more flexibility with it, I'm going to convert it to a vector graphic inside of here. So it does have the ability, you can do it multiple ways. When you have the object selected, if you're in the properties and the object, you can hit trace, or you go up to modify, and you go to bitmap, bitmap, and trace image. It does the same thing. It's going to bring up this thing, and basically these are the settings in which you're going to attempt to take this picture and make it into vector graphics. Now obviously when it's raster graphics, it's a million billion points, right? It has to take those and basically try to condense them into shapes. So there's a threshold here. So you can see right here, the minimum area is 8 pixels, which means the smallest island, the smallest little shape has to be 8 pixels. So why don't we up that actually? I don't know why I didn't change it. Let's do 16. Now the color threshold, the higher the number, the fewer amount of colors, and the lower the number, the more colors. So what I did when I did mine is I really wasn't all that sure, to be honest with you. So I just was like 25, and then I hit preview, and I see what it looks like. And then, stupid thing. And then it goes behind, so you can't even see it. Let me move them over here so I can see them. That's really stupid. Okay, so let's try that again. Let's hit trace. So, so 25, when I looked at it, was too much, right? So then let's try 100, and then I'll hit preview. And then you can see it cut it down quite a bit, but I didn't like the red in the tires. And then I was like, okay. And then I decided, let's try 75, hit preview. And I was like, you know what? That's good enough. It's a pretty close approximation of what I had. You're not going to be able to use this to take a raster, let's say, logo, and you're like, I want to make it into a vector. Because the algorithm that it uses is not great. So it's fine for in here, but it wouldn't be good for probably other uses. So just be aware of that. So if I'm happy with that and I know it, I clap my hands and then I hit OK, and boom, now I have that. There's actually a little nublet here that I don't want. Let me get rid of that. Okay. So now if I look at this guy, you can see that he is indeed a bunch of fills. So I can alright. Now the only thing I would say is that when you're looking at this, you are going to notice that, let's use the direct select tool, or sub-selection tool. There's a lot of points. See? So I could go through and try to manually clean it up. I could simplify it. There's things you can do to try and clean it up. Quite frankly, I don't really care. So we're just going to call that good because I don't want to go through all the business of that. But what I do want to do is just go ahead and make this a symbol. So I'm not dealing with it as a shape. So I'm just going to select the whole thing like this. I'm going to hit F8, or you go to Modify, Convert to Symbol. And we're just going to call it car_MC for movie clip. Just make sure you have movie clip here. Registration can be centered is good. And then hit OK. Yay. Okay. So this is all of the things that are going to be in my first panel. All right. So we're going to call that good. So I'm going to take everything that's in here, I'm just going to click and drag over the whole thing, or you can click off and then just click on a layer, and that'll automatically select everything that's on a layer, and since everything's on layer 1, that's another way. And I'm just going to convert this whole thing, and I'm going to call it panel 1. We're going to have 3 panels. So you have a comic, right? So we're going to show a first panel, then we'll show a second panel, then we'll show a third panel. This will be the number 1 panel. Okay, so I select all of it. I'm just going to hit F8 or Modify, Convert to Symbol. And we're just going to call it panel01_MC. Yay. And we'll just leave that dude right there. Something extra up there. I don't know what's going on with that. Let me double click in here. I don't know. I think I got it now. Let me double click back out. Double click back out. Yeah, there we go. Okay. There's a little something, a little nublet up there. Okay. So we're going to do the next panel. So, to do that, and we'll just keep everything around layer 1. I don't really care. So I'm going to go to library, and then I'm going to collapse this PSD here, and I'm going to open up this one here. Let's go ahead and let's just actually grab this one, just so we're not dealing with a bunch of them. I'm just going to go ahead and delete that, okay? But I have my panel 1 MC right here, so I can always bring it back. And when I double click and go inside of this symbol, it has all of the things inside of it, okay? So we're going to come back to this in a second, but for now, let's just get rid of it. I just want to get them all set up, all right? So next is this next scene, right? So again, I'm going to do my background first. And I'm going to do the same thing I did before. I'm going to go Properties, and I'm just going to go ahead and type in 1280, and type in 0 and 0. Enter, and that'll make sure that fits. Bueno. Let's go back to the library, and then we have a Cone Ebati and phonemes and that. So I'm just going to drag all these guys in here. I'm just going to hit Q and shrink these puppies down. Okay. And just so you can kind of see. Basically, what I'm going to, I think we might do, I'm not sure, it depends on how long it takes me to do it. I'm going to do it, but whether I have you guys do it next week, I'm not sure. I might have you do lip sync, so he'll say something in this panel, which I think might be fun, and it would show you another thing. So we might do that, but if I do that, I might have to cut something else out, so we'll see. All right, so I'm going to call that good for that panel. There isn't really too much more I need to do there, so I'm just going to grab the whole thing again, all of the elements. I'm going to hit F8, and we're going to call this one, you guessed it, panel 02 underscore MC, Masters of Ceremony. Obviously, it stands for movie clip. That's what we do, underscore MC. All right, go ahead, delete that dude out. I'm going to collapse this one. I'm going to open up the next guy. Again, I'm going to grab background. I'm going to drop it like it's hot. Go over here. I'm going to change the size to 1280. And we're going to change the position to 0 by 0. That centers it. Good. Then we're going to go here, and I'm going to grab my baby. Baby can go here. And we'll just hit Q. This is my little babe. Hi, baby. Notice, when we're talking about 1 point perspective and things like that, so this actually is 2 points perspective. I put another point over here, but notice that all these lines are pointing to the baby, which draws your eye into it, because that's basically what I want you to see is the baby, right? Just like the Last Supper painting or whatever. So, and then the other thing I need here are these cone dudes here. So this guy is meant to be here. This is his first position. He's gonna see the baby, and then his last position. I'll shrink this dude down. I'm just holding shift and I have Q on, by the way, the free transform. He's just going to stand in front of it and basically save the baby. And the other thing I need is in this one, I also need the car. Now you see the car I need to go in the other direction, so that's pretty easy. I'm just going to go to modify, transform. It's weird not in edit, I know, but, and then flip horizontal, and that way I can go vroom and go ba-dump as I go by, right? Okay, so that's good. Now all that's in there. So I grabbed the same symbol I made from the other one. So I'm just going to use the car twice instead of having to draw a new one. Because I was going to draw a new one. I'm like, you know what? That angle kind of works. So I'm just going to not because I'm lazy. So laziness wins out. All right. So I'm just going to go ahead and select all of it. Hit F8. And we're going to call this panel 03 underscore MC. All right. And I'm going to delete that guy out. And then I'm going to show you what we're going to do. So I'm going to take first panel. I'll plop it here. I'm going to go to properties, make sure that puppy is zeroed out. So we don't need to do anything here. I just need to zero this and zero this. Oh, the registration's up in the center. Let me see if it's 1280. Well, we'll just eyeball it. I don't feel like. Oh yeah, it'll snap. That's right. Good. Okay, so there's the first one. And then I'm just going to go to library and I'm going to grab the second panel. And we're going to put this guy right next to this guy. And then we're going to grab the third panel. And then we're going to put this guy, drag him over, and get over there. These. There we go. All right. And so the idea here is that just remember, the only part you're going to see is the stage part here. So anything that's out in this gray, you're not going to see. So the plan is we're going to make a button that you're going to see this part, and then when you click the button, it's going to go and show the next one, and you click the button, and then it shows the next one, right? But inside of each one of these, we'll have buttons you can click, and it plays an animation. All right, so basically that's the idea of it. So we'll have these three panels, and they are set up. Okay, so the next one we're going to do is draw. I'm only gonna have us do one because I don't want you to have to do all of it, just because you've already done this before, and at this point it's kind of moot, and you already did the other thing. So we're just gonna draw this guy here in the next video, and then that should be it.